Welcome everybody, I'm RJ of the Nerdy Brew, and here on this channel we talk TV, movies, and everything in between, all while drinking a cup of coffee. Now if you like one of those things, or all of those things, why don't you consider subscribing, and hit that notification bell, and becoming a fellow Brewster. So today, fellow Brewsters, this is a top 10 films of 2022. And this is just out of reflection. We are now into the new year of 2023, and we're just having a reflection on the films of past that I found to be my favorites. And the films of last year are not what you expect. And even though this is the Nerdy Brew, we talk about movies, comics, fanfare, all of those things, all in between. My taste is not what you expect. So we're gonna get into the list, and I hope everyone had a productive end of the year, going into the new year now, and we could just chill all together and have a cup of coffee. Number 10, Belle. So Belle was a movie that started the beginning of 2022, and this movie was an anime movie, and it was also a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And what I loved about this movie, especially, I'm always inclined to go to retellings of Beauty and the Beast, and this particular one was just a very good reinterpretation and changing it for a modern audience with its own Japanese anime take. And what I loved about it was a very human story. So they go into this idea of this virtual world called You.
Welcome to the world of You. You is the ultimate virtual community, created and governed by its 5 wise architects, known as the Voices. With over 5 billion registered users, it is the biggest internet society in history, and it is still growing. The latest bot-sharing technology, which allows its users to come together, relax, or just have fun.
Which is kind of like an updated, futuristic version of the metaverse, similar to Ready Player One, but you can have an avatar in that world, and there's this shy girl in the real world, and she's dealing with grief and loss, and with grief and loss of a loved one, she has anxiety. But inside the world of You, she becomes this instant celebrity called Belle. Inside the world of You, there is a beast avatar figure that's causing mayhem, causing a muck, and there's also the security team that are also based like superheroes that are trying to stop him, and he's also getting fanfare and notoriety inside the world, where it's bringing attention to the public, and the public is trying to narrow down who is behind this beast. But she ends up building a relationship with the beast, but she feels as if his actions inside of You, there has to be an effect or a cause. There has to be a cause outside of You to have him act the way that he's acting. So as this little girl, she gets along with her friends and her family to narrow down who's behind the beast avatar. And not only that, they end up eventually meeting the boy, finding out what's his hardships that he's going through and how they can reconcile with that. And with them doing that, it was just a touching story of the sake of humanity and people connecting with one another over distances and over hurt, where they can commiserate but also come together for reconciliation. Also, the music was beautiful, and it was a beautiful film to look at. So my number 10 is Belle. Number 9, Sonic 2. I left the theater of Sonic 2, and what I was thinking about Sonic 2 was Sonic 2, I put this on my social media, was that it was the Dark Knight, Days of Future Past, Empire Strikes Back of video game Sonic franchise movies. It did everything perfectly. First of all, Jim Carrey, once again, as Dr. Robotnik, was such an amazing turnout of what he was doing. It was Jim Carrey at his best. It was like all the gold and all the hijinks that he acquired throughout the years. He was just able to be a refined, goofy Jim Carrey, but still able to play the role in a fantastic and villainous way.
43 in this Portobello Purgatory. My only companion is a rock I named Stone. Mushroom coffee. With limited. Hello. Did you miss me?
I just loved him in it. Also having the very great post-credit scene of Growing Out the World, and also what it does as a sequel of improving on what came before it. Idris Elba as Knuckles, and his personality as Knuckles, very reminiscent of Drax. He was very literal, and didn't understand hyperbole and metaphors, and it was great. And even staying within the lineage or the lore of what Sonic is and how Robotnik tricked Knuckles, and also seeing Supersonic. I'm just saying, like, I'm gushing over this film because I unequivocally loved it. I loved it. I just thought, with me having my basis of loving Sonic, I even got Sonic comics, just them paying attention to detail and not oversaturating the movie with things that don't propel it to be a fine movie in itself. It just ended up being a great movie and improving as what a sequel should do on what came before. And as I said, I loved Supersonic, the post-credit scene. I loved him talking about chili dogs, right? I loved building his relationship with James Marsden to add that human element to it. It was a great movie. I loved it. So that's what made it on my top 10 was Sonic 2. That was number 9. Number 8 is Prey. Yo, so I loved so much about Prey. And I'm a fan, I'm a somewhat fan of the Predator franchise. Just because some of the outings that they had in the franchise have not always been bangers. I'm gonna say this. I'm not a fan of Predator 2. People like Predator 2. I'm not one of them. I didn't like Predator 2 at all. And there was also the Predator film. I think that came out in 2018, and it was the super mutant Predator stabbed a dude in the balls, which was wild. But I didn't like that movie. I felt like that movie was trying so much to just throw in gore without having a compelling story as its foundation. So I didn't like that movie at all. But, you know, the first Predators, and I like Predators as well, the movie called Predators, but the first Predators, and this movie as Prey, I love that it changed the whole dynamic of what the franchise is. One, it took you out of time. It's not these uber masculine alpha males who were the baddest men at the time as being mercenary Marines, right? It's this one Comanche girl, excuse me if I say that wrong, but there's this one Comanche girl was not like in contrast to like what Arnold Schwarzenegger was. Arnold Schwarzenegger had his muscles and his bravado. But he had to go away from that in his guns, right? He had to go away from that, and he had to use his intellect. He had to use his wits, and it just shows with the contrast with this girl that she wasn't part of the hunter tribe where the men go out and hunt. But she just knows that she has that skill. And I like how we got this earlier version of the Predator, but it was with the wooden technology. I love the fact that he fought a bear, killed the bear. It was great. Yo, I like the movie was simple in scope. I like that it wasn't in the sense of like everybody like teaming up together trying to like fight it. Like it was like the thing. It was the thing. It was an isolated episode. Like, you know, it was an isolated situation. People trying to accommodate and acclimate. And I love the relationship between the main character, who was the Comanche girl, and her brother, and also taking it into that time period. And now, personally, I can see the franchise go on where it has a variety of different time periods. Like, can we see a Predator in feudal Japan? Can we see a Predator in Zimbabwe? You know what I mean? In the plains of Africa? Can we see 1920s against the gangster with a Tommy gun? Like, you know, we could see those things. Whoever owns it, Hulu, Fox, get at me. But yeah, I just love the idea and the flip on the head of what the franchise was and just making it a simpler story. And I loved about it, and I loved the relationship with the girl and the dog. And I like the code of conduct by the Predator. It has rules of engagement. So I just love that very much. The movie was fantastic to me. So number 8 is Prey. So number 7 is All Quiet on the Western Front. All Quiet on the Western Front. All Quiet on the Western Front is number 7. And what I loved about the movie is that, first of all, it's on Netflix, a Netflix original, and it's produced from Germany. It's coming out of Germany. And what I liked about the movie was that it was just a visceral and impactful film where it didn't hold no punches about showing the depravity and violence and grossness of what World War I was. And I read the book back in high school, and it's just a powerful like moment of this person going through all these atrocities during World War I, and the book is not as detailed. It is, but it's not as detailed as what the movie showed, and it was able to enhance the story. That's what the movie did by showing this visual imagery. I'm gonna just be honest, of like guts and body parts and people dying and explosions that add the modern cinema technology to this very personal story. But it also shows the wide range of how dramatic and bombastic and influential World War I was. And the performances were stellar performances, natural to the world setting, and just showing this end of Germany and how the war was ending and the height of the war. And one of the things that really got to me is the main character, who's named Paul. And Paul is an eager young German, just ready for adventure, and not only ready for adventure, but he also has duty to serve his country, and not knowing what he's going to encounter. And with him going into the situation of the military, they give him a uniform, and he says, oh wait, this has someone else's name on it. And the officer there who's, you know, signing him up, he was like, oh, and he rips the tag off. He's like, no, it's yours. And it's like, yo, he has no idea that that's like a cleaned up uniform from his dead comrade who got caught up in that battle. And it just shows that they're just being used as cannon fodder and being recycled. And it was a theater movie that I ended up watching at home, and the experience was very immersive. And for me, being biased of reading the book, and not just reading the book, but yeah, watching the movie and updating what it was, because I know there was the one in the 1930s, but this movie was able to show how graphic that World War I was. I said that like 3 times, but yeah, that's what I felt like. So number 7, All Quiet on the Western Front, I highly recommend it. Number 6 The Northman. All right, so I saw The Northman, right? I saw it streaming. I feel bad that I didn't get a chance to support it in theaters. But what I liked about The Northman, first of all, I said this, is that it's this generation's Gladiator. And with what I'm saying, it is this generation's Gladiator, is that it's this man in the past being removed, forged to be a warrior. He has vengeance for his family, longing to have his family in the in this life and in the afterlife. And I just like, first of all, I'm always gonna say I like personal stories. I do like the end of the world is gonna happen and it's gonna be this giant explosions and I don't know, Transformers 3. You know, I don't have a problem with all that visual, you know, minutia. I don't have a problem with all of that. But at the same time, how this one individual of I don't know his name, Skarsgård, this one Skarsgård out of many, who's playing this Viking, who was a Viking prince, right? Lost his entire kingdom and became a slave and warrior with this next tribe. And now he's a man who is purposeful and on vengeance.
I am Amlet the Beowulf, son of King Arvan the War Raven, and I am his vengeance!
And just focused. And everything, it's a slow burn. And what I did love was the imagery. And with the imagery, it changed between reality and fantasy, and not knowing what the difference was. Was it fantastical, or was it grounded? Was this all in his mind, or was it really these aspects? Oh man, I'm just saying, like, this movie has so much, and his performance was very powerful to me. Learning some of the things that he goes through is definitely an emotional blow, where he has a lot of focus now to change his motives. Cause Nicole Kidman, she's a great supporting character. Yeah, I'ma just say this. First of all, they have a final fight at the end of a volcano where everything culminated to that fight. And then the crazy thing is these two men call it out. Like, where you want to do this at? At the volcano, son. All right, I'll meet you there. What time? Noon. I'll be there. Straight. See you then. So they man up and they end up having this fight at the volcano. And even he already had prior plans to run away with this maiden. He has his focus and his drive for vengeance. I love the movie. So number 6, The Northman. So my number 5 is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And what this movie is Nick Cage playing Nick Cage, co-starring Pedro Pascal. And what it is Pedro Pascal, who was the Red Viper of Dorne, rest in peace. But he, who's also Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. Wow! But he's in this movie as well, as a co-lead with Nicolas Cage. And the movie is him being down on his luck, and with him being down on his luck, being Nick Cage, you know, he has done a lot of straight-to-DVD movies lately, because he, everybody knows this, he was very, the opposite of frugal when it came to his money. But he was like, man, I need something. So he ends up getting this invitation by this man who's a super fan for $1 million. And he goes out and he's playing himself. Comes to find out, the CIA is like, Nick Cage, we need you to spy on this man. And it's Nick Cage being Nick Cage with all the Nick Cage-isms, right?
She needs you to be a star. Now you get the next one, baby, and we're back.
Not that we went anywhere.
Not that we went anywhere. Come here. Yeah, Nick Cage smooch is good. You tell him! Nick Cage smooch is good!
trying to not be a spy, and it's supposed to be like everybody is not supposed to believe that Nick Cage can't go through this situation undetected, which is wild to me. And the super fan makes reference to his earlier movies in the 90s, and he's a super fan of himself, Nick Cage. So it's like a totally vanity project, but he's also subdued in the sense of knowing that this whole situation is ridiculous, and with it being ridiculous, it keeps going on and growing, where he even wears prosthetics in the scene. And and then it turns into like a buddy relationship, right? And it also brings attention to Paddington 2, because those Paddington movies are such jewels. And I just definitely loved the appreciation that they put into not only making this fun and exciting movie, but also appreciating who Nick Cage is. And that movie made it to my top 5. So top 5 going into top 4. Bullet Train is my top 4. And like what I liked about Bullet Train of being number 4 in the top 5 out of my top 10, Bullet Train was just a simple assassin movie, action movie. It reminded me of like Smoking Aces, Lucky Number 11, Crank. Just a movie that was totally ridiculous, but it had nothing to prove. There was no message.
The message.
Beyond it, and all the cast of characters were there to just serve the story with a great, I ain't gonna say great, but it was a serviceable story, and it was exciting action to see. And I like the characters. Joey King, the actress who played Lil Talia Ghul, I liked her in her role. I love the two twins, Brian Tyree Henry and Quicksilver, Aaron Johnson. I enjoyed those characters. Logan Lerman is in there, and he got a good paycheck to just be chill through the rest of the movie. Zazie Beetz, she showed up. She was a interesting figure, but I think Brad Pitt and my man who was Scorpion, I'm gonna put his image up because I love him as an actor and I love when he shows up. I think those two carried the movie. Assam from Warrior was also in that movie, and I enjoyed him as well. And I just enjoyed what the movie brought. It was just a fun movie that it had nothing to prove, to just be entertaining all the way through, and bringing back just regular action of dumbing things down where it wasn't overt and messaging. Just a simple story, literally from point A to point B, going on this ride. all metaphoric, literally, yeah. So I just enjoyed the movie in that basis. So yeah, Bullet Train is number 4. So my number 3 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I'm not gonna talk too much about that. I will direct you here if you want to know my thoughts about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. But what I definitely enjoyed about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, I do love that there were black women in the forefront. That's one. I do love that they had the reconciliation and they had to come to terms with the grief of this polarizing figure of T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman. And I also like some of the heartwarming, touching moments that happened throughout the movie. And Namor was a standout for me. Just who he was as a character, and bringing him from page to screen was his personification. And I just love that actor's performance of what he did for Namor. And Namor was a great antagonist introduced for me inside the MCU. So with all that being said, Black Panther is my number 3. My number 2 is Top Gun Maverick. Now, talk about Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick is kind of what I love about Bullet Train. Is, first of all, I've seen the regular Top Gun many a times as a youth, because the movie was always on TV. And like 5 different channels, like whatever was owned by Ted Turner, it was on there, and I seen it, hints and glimpses, and I'll probably be playing with my action figures and watching it in the background. But I seen it. But the crazy thing about that movie is the idealization I'm trying to find is that it's definitely a personification of what America wanted to be at the time of the 80s. So everything about that movie, especially with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is still Hollywood's one of like leading stars, and the movie also hints on that as well, that he's one of the leading stars, and also that America, patriotism, military, guns, football, shirtless men. Let's do it, right? So the movie was trying to be definitely nostalgia of bringing in Top Gun Maverick, but what it does is, just as a good sequel does, it improves. And with him as Tom Cruise character of Maverick, dealing with the fact of what everyone deals with, is the fact of their humanity and their mortality, and not everything lasts forever. So I definitely appreciate Tom Cruise and his Scientology to get rid of those negative energies so he can be as positive as he is, to keep being youthful and working as he does. And with that, I like how they made it a personal story with his character, dealing with Miles Teller's character as Rooster, and that relationship with the son, that was all in the first movie. So bringing it back and him being part of Top Gun just brings it around full circle for it to connect, and them, having that, I don't know what you call it, just that unspoken elephant in the room, that tension that they have with one another, to trying to have some reconciliation with one another under the circumstances of a military attack on both sides, made it very captivating. And then with Joseph Kosinski, the director of the movie, I love Tron Legacy, right? So I don't know if it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but I love Tron Legacy. From when I saw it until this day, and I saw it multiple times in theaters. And I feel like that movie is definitely underrated, and I love what he brought of updating that world. So I felt like, and he did great in Oblivion as well. Just the movie put together, all together in Oblivion, was kind of lackluster. But when it comes to like cinematography, when it comes to like technology, he was an architect before he became a director. And then with them using the inside shots of actually flying, just made it a more like involved movie as an experience. So not only that it had a good story, but it was also visually pleasing. It wasn't just like, I'm gonna tell you this, Top Gun Maverick is superior to Fast 9. Fast 9, it was just ridiculous, like ridiculous stunts. But this was like, it was grounded in the world to have it be a good story with motive to use the action. And that's just called perfection to me. So number 2, Top Gun Maverick. So my number 1 movie of the year is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And what I liked about this movie, had Michelle Yeoh in it. And I'm just a stickler for personal stories. I don't know what it is, but not only was the movie fun. All right, I'm gonna tell you this: the movie's dealing with the multiverse and multiple realities, and with them dealing with multiple realities, also existential stuff, right? And not even existential. It's like literally like the universe is gonna collapse. Like all reality is gonna collapse. And like certain things were just certain like weirdness and fun that they added to the movie. And my friend saw it. My friend Robert of Get Your Geek On. He's in the featured. If you go to my homepage of the channel. But I asked him, like, I watched the movie. He said he enjoyed it. And I asked him, was that Short Round? is Short Round in the movie? And it was Short Round. And it was like, yo, Short Round, what are you doing, my guy? And he was just doing the action, and he was like a very integral and very anchored role in part of the movie. And you know, her dealing with her relationship with her daughter, and her daughter being a catalyst to a major event, which is wild. And just trying to understand your child, for me being a parent, and just the changes in the flow, the ebb and flow that they go through, and you gotta adjust to who they are as their people, because they come through you, they're not you. And when they become their own person and what they're knowing and growing, it's like, how do you acclimate to that? And not only, you know, those kind of questions, but there was this one situation where it was super heartfelt, but it's just them talking as rocks. That's the reality, where no evolution happened and there was rocks. Evolution, creation, however you people didn't come up to have conversation. And just the conversation that they had as rocks of being a part of this world, or their relationship, it was just mad impactful for what it was. So yeah, number one, everything, everywhere, everything, everywhere, everything, all at once. It's a long title. Those are my top 10 films of 2022 that I was able to reflect upon, that I was able to watch, and I was able to love. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below if you've seen any films, or not even if you've seen any films. Let me know your top 10, and not only if you let me know your top 10, let me know your favorite. I would like to know those down in the comments below, and liking a comment goes a long way, where we'll be able to get us in the algorithm so we can have people involved in the conversations, because it's not only me having the conversation, I'm absolutely intrigued and nosy of wanting to know what's your favorite films. So let your voices be heard down in the comments below. That was pretty dramatic. I don't know why I did all that. But yeah, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'm gonna bring this video to an end. And I want you to be you, do you, see the bigger picture. Have a fantastic day, because you deserve it. This is that channel. Peace.
Headshot, blunt stay high. Talking shit, gotta pull up on they block. You fraud, I'm couch guard. No, you got a tax like a state charge. Safe house. Safe house. Safe house.